Aloha, it's Christy. Creative nudge time. So what's that? I feel like it's nice to kind of nudge our creativity from time to time, and I always have far too many ideas about things that could be inspirational, imaginative, creative, whatever. I feel like there's so many of them that if I didn't share them, that would be wrong. So here is a creative nudge. So what kind of things help nudge our creativity? Could be anything. It could be a theme like monsters or clouds. It could be a color palette. It could be anything really. So I'm going to explore a bunch of different things, but today I was rather inspired by weird tropical fruit. Now I live in Maui and I love it here. And one of the things that is so exciting about living in Maui is there's just weird fruit. It's a tropical place. Tropical things grow. I love that. And as many of you know, wherever you live, whatever the fruit or vegetable or thing is that your place is known for, when you get it from the source where it has ripened naturally, not only is it always more juicy or fun or tasty or whatever it may be, but it also has those true colors because it's not picked green so it can ship. And I love that. So the first thing I want to share with you is this mango. Now everybody knows mangoes. There's a lot of different kind of mangoes out there, but most of us are familiar with the supermarket kind, which are fine. But this one is one from the local trees here. And I'm going to get it up close because I want you to look at, and this is what is especially interesting to me from a creative standpoint. Look at the way that as it ripens, it goes from red and on to the yellow, and how it has like the little spots of color in here. To me, that not only is the fruit itself so delicious, and when you cut this open, it's just so pretty inside. But I wanted you to look at that color and maybe have a little inspiration from that. We get a lot of citrus here too, and I love citrus. There's all different kinds, and this is a local tangerine, probably maybe a tangelo. No, it's a tangerine. But I especially wanted you to see how the green is just modeled into that orange. And so it's not like your typical supermarket thing. It's got an awful lot of green in there. And of course, since it's just grown locally, it's not trying to be perfect. It's not full of, pesticides or whatever to kind of keep the bugs off. It's doing its wild thing. But just look at those little green to orange stripes. And that texture with the little bumps and stuff too. Does that inspire you to anything in your creativity? Maybe. The next thing, and this was part of what prompted this today, is we went down to a little local place that I love here. It's called the South Maui Gardens. And when you're in Maui, I suggest that come to Kihei and go to the South Maui Gardens. So it used to be a nursery, still is. And in and amongst the nursery, there's food trucks and a million little places to sit and eat, a coffee shop, a pizza joint, just all kinds of good stuff. And in the middle is a little office where you can go purchase your plants and things. And the gal there often brings interesting fruits from her property to sell at a ridiculously low price, including this star apple. So I wanted you to see how this looks. And isn't that fun? This burgundy color, and then this green with its fun little stem that's left, and just the way the two come together. I'm just being fascinated right now about the change of one color to another in the way that fruit naturally ripens on the tree. So I ran off and I cut it open so you could see why it's called a star apple. So you see that kind of like star that it gets in the middle with the seeds? It's weird because it has a very pinkish, milky flesh, and you can kind of see the that weird little whiteness to it, and this gooey business in the middle, which is like a little jelly thing that encapsulates the seeds. So it's almost like a boba tea, those little jellies that are in there, but it makes this beautiful little star pattern, which in itself is just a beautiful color, right? Okay, so the last little inspirational weirdo tropical fruit thing is a Suriname cherry. Let me see if I can get that in focus for you. And I love these little guys, just the way they taste. But look at the little weird nubbins on the bottom and how it looks like a pumpkin that became a cherry or whatever. Isn't that cool? And they taste so good. But it's got a bit of tartness, almost a little medicinal taste. So I can be inspired by the taste of it as well as the lovely color and texture. Okay, so that was your creative nudge for the day. Fruit. As fruit naturally ripens, especially weird exotic tropical fruit, you're getting wonderful little gradients of color, little speckles of the one color into the other color. And what can you do with that? How can that inspire your creativity? Good luck with that. I'm just kidding. Let's explore this together. Let's look at this little star apple first. Now, as you can see, I've cut it open, and each one of the seeds that are in there have like a little jelly-like thing on there. I showed you that. But I like this little star pattern. So how could we use that in our creativity? Because that, there's a couple things going on. There's that wonderful color combination and the way that's all striated there. And then there's this funky thing where it's got the purple, but then all of the little white froth. I don't know what that is. And then you've got a star pattern. So it really doesn't matter what kind of creativity you do. Maybe you work with words. Maybe you work with music or song. Perhaps you paint or sculpt or do mosaic or, any number of things with your hands. A couple of different little things come to mind. The star pattern, of course, is the first one that I see. And that kind of asterisk-like pattern. And as well as a sort of contrast between this purpley stuff and then the dark. So that's kind of nice. What can you do with that? What can you do with sort of this asterisk star pattern? Repeating that pattern or doing a very subtle little lines within your color. Or maybe you can describe the juiciness or the frothiness or the jelly-like stuff if you're using your words. And then if we go to this, I just really love this. It's almost like the unripeness holding on as the ripeness takes over. Can you play with that? Is there something to do with sort of the progression of ripening? And then purely simply just as a sculptural thing, because I work a lot myself sculpturally, is just this combination, the green and the purple. It's really fun. So maybe that's a few things that this particular fruit will inspire. And then let's look at this little Suriname cherry. A couple things come to mind with this. First of all, I love the sort of waxy translucency of it. So if you're working with a material that you can play with that sort of waxy translucence, that would be really fun. That might be something in resin, or it might be something with sort of a gel coating. Can you play with the ridges? Can you play with the contrast between this woodiness and then this shininess? Those are the sort of things that happen in my head. Would this be like some kind of plant that has protuberances that look like this? Could it be this sort of idea of the ridges? A few little things like that is what springs to mind for me. All right, let's take a look at the orange. I love the green to orange mix, and I love all these little weird dots. And that's similar to what the mango has. They both have these gradients of color and all of these little dots, which could be conceived almost like, acne or skin blemishes. So there's that, but also there's sort of a loveliness to that too. So I would, if I was working with paints or if I'm working with my polymer clay that allows me to have a lot of color, I might try to do something where I end up with all these little dots, or maybe it's something where you're using alcohol inks and you're dropping it in, or some other sort of almost like a marbled paper kind of concept where you're dropping things in that expand out or come from underneath. Maybe also it could be something like bubbles. But the gradients, of course, totally fun to play with those gradients of something changing to something else or something ripening. I think is really good. But I just think using this color pattern with all the little speckles and dots, either of these two color patterns might be a really fun place to start in whatever materials you're playing with. And then, of course, you know, there's a million other things that this different fruit can inspire. Things that are ripe, things that are succulent, things that are juicy, things that are nourishing, things that are growing and thriving. I mean, you got all of those ideas. But then you also have the peel, a hard covering that's discarded because it's keeping safe the precious vulnerability inside, but it isn't really needed anymore once you're ready to taste the sweetness. I mean, there might be some fun things you can do with that. If you're just playing sculpturally, I might myself want to go, why don't I make some fun little, I like making the monsters, the little ghoulies a lot. Why don't I make something that has this kind of color combination? Some unexpected thing that was orange with green. I use powders a lot. So having sort of an orange thing with this orange dimply pattern and then these little swipes of the sagey green, that could be really fun. And, you know, same kind of thing if you've got something with this deeper, almost a burgundy color and the yellowy orange. I mean, you know, those are the things that come to mind as we're looking at these different fruits and imagining different things that could be created from here. Okay, so I mean, and it could be something just as simple as what a lovely tropical still life this is, with these weird kind of color contrasts with the purple and the red and the oranges. I mean, if you're a painter, that is fun, doing an unexpected still life. If you are working miniatures, maybe making some of these little tropical fruits. I would like to take the colors and turn them into little weird creations that are just using the color thing. So hopefully that will give you a few ideas. Okay, so how about that? A couple of little creative nudges to inspire you for whatever you have been thinking of while I've been talking that you might want to make. Journal something, paint something, sculpt something, doodle something, write about something, whatever is your jam. And now I have got some fruit to eat.